Hello and welcome back to our last history lesson of this week. And what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to look at the longships, why they were so impressive, some of the features of it, and then we're even going to try and create our very own longship. Now, before we look at that, we're going to have a look at the objects from our last lesson and see if we can place them. So, here are our objects, and we have 6 different objects. The first one being wooden bowls, and you can see how they are wooden bowls. You can see the shape they are, looks like they're bowls. An added benefit might be that if they were made out of wood, they might well float if you were to drop them in the sea or drop them in your boat with a bit of water at the bottom. Our second object is a wooden game board with walrus ivy pieces, which would be these bits here. Now, I'm not sure what type of game they would have played with this, but it would have something to do with the board and the pieces. And I assume the experts that have said this have a reason for why they might think that, or they might know more about how they might interact to make a game piece. I'd assume because there's not much else you could do with them. Our third one here is some silver coins, which are these bits here, and an iron coin stamp, which is this bit, and these bits here. These were also called die, because what they did is placed the imprint onto the coin. So the coins would be placed on here, and then this would be pressed down on top, and that would put the design onto the coin for it to show when it was made and who was the king at the time it was made. And you can see 2 more designs imprinted here and here as well. Our fourth item are the leather shoes. Now you can see that all of these leather shoes are slightly different design, and that might just be that there's a difference in the person who made them, but it could also be that they're the difference in how much they would have cost to have made. You've got some slightly more intricate designs here with a flap that goes over the top to fasten it and the banding across the front. And then you've got quite simple slip-on ones that just have sewn down one side. So I assume there's some difference in how they are used or how they are made. Number 5 is a comb, and it's made from antler, could also be made from whalebone in some cases. And you can see that one piece here is cut into teeth, which are these bits here, which are the part of the comb you run through your hair, and then it's been reinforced by another bit of antler here in order to make it slightly heavier when you pull it through. Now, what they would have to be very careful of is these teeth are quite easy to break, and you can see actually that some are broken here. So what they'd have to think of as a way to protect that when they keep it in their sea chest or when they put it in their pocket. And what you don't want is breaking as soon as you use it or before you use it, because then it wouldn't do its job of combing whatever it was going to comb. So what they made is this comb guard, which is this bit here. The comb sits into this, and that protects the teeth. Lastly, our number 6 is an iron lock and key, and this key would be fit into the lock here, turn to unlock it, and more than likely the pin, which is this bit here, probably would open up, and therefore you could lock something. What this does tell us is that they must have had stuff that they wanted to keep safe, that they wanted to keep out of the hands of other people. And that's quite an important thing to think about as well. Part of their lifestyle being that they need a lock and key. So what we're going to think about are the longships. And as the name suggests, these are long. And we're talking 20, 30 meters. These are long, or could be anyway. But not only that, they were very fast and sleek in their design. They also had quite a low, quite a shallow keel, which is this bit at the bottom down here, which meant that they could actually go up rivers and into those shallow waters and not get stuck. And that was really important because what that means is they could raid up these villages, up this river to a village, raid it very quickly, and escape out back to sea before retaliation was able to happen. They also had both oars and sails, which meant that they could travel if there was wind or not, and could increase the power by using the oars. Now, a lot of them were built different sizes, so they would happen to carry different amounts. They could carry, some were known to have carried up to 120 warriors, which is really quite a large design if you think about it. Now, on the prow of the boat, which is the front of the boat, you would also see a carving, and this was the figurehead or something similar to that. And this represented a spirit of the boat. And what it was used for, and you have to remember that Vikings are quite superstitious people. They believed in their gods and the spirits around them, and they didn't want to have to deal with them. So what they would do is design the figureheads to scare the spirits of the land they were raiding, and then there wouldn't be any backlash that way either. Now, in order to make it so that they could tell whether they were going, because if they were going to attack a place, they wanted to scare the spirits off. But if they were going for friendly reasons, to trade or to return home, they would actually remove the figurehead, bring it down, so that they was easily seen that they were going there to be friendly. So the other thing that we have to think about is the Vikings were often at sea for long periods of time. They travelled across seas, which meant that they spent a lot of time at sea, weeks at a time. And this would mean that they would have to sleep on their longship. So what they would do is they would lower the sail to become a sort of canopy over the top of them and protect them from the wind and the rain. And then underneath that, they would get their sealskin sleeping bags out to keep them warm. This is an example of one. Now, it would keep them warm and dry. Now, sealskin, I assume, is very good because if you think about how a seal is, it's got very fine fur that keeps their heat in, but it's also waterproof. So it does both of those two things. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could have got hold of some of this and test it in our science as a thermal insulator and see if it really was really good insulator for keeping that warmth in and keeping things nice and warm. Okay, so we know from our work on archaeology that some materials, especially fabrics, don't survive very long buried underground for hundreds of years. They wear away or they break down. So we can't be particularly sure about what their sails were made of. Now, it stands to reason that there are a few things that they would need to do. So experts believe that they're probably made out of tightly woven wool. You think it needs to be tightly woven because the job of it is to catch wind and to blow the boat along. But they'd also probably have to be oiled or something like that in order to make sure that that sea spray or the rain doesn't damage them. Now, I also assume that some sails do get damaged and broken and would need to be fixed, and wool would allow that to happen as well. We talked about them having to be at sea for long periods of time. One of the problems when you're at sea is when you're out of sight of land, every single direction looks the same. It's just sea as far as the eye can see. So how do you know where you're going? Well, the Vikings would use either the sun, and they would see where the sun is in the sky and use that to judge direction. Or at night, they could use stars like Polaris, the North Star, to see where north is. Or they might use constellations where they knew that where the constellation was going to be and they'd head in the direction of that one. What they might also take is a guide or somebody that would tell them that had been there before and knew the direction, and they would tell them where to go. And that, of course, is the easiest route to take because somebody's already been there. So, your task for today is to build a model of a Viking longship. Now, there are so many ways you can do that. You can follow along with me in this lesson and build one that looks like the image we have here. Or you could look through the images for earlier on and design your own completely using any materials you have around the house. You could look online at images and try and use those to help you. There would be other designs online you could use. And you can use any materials you like. I've seen them made out of milk jugs and the bottom of them. I've seen huge ones. I had one made once before that was really big. It was probably about 1 meter across, made out of cardboard that had a proper keel rather than the flat bottom like we've got here. And its mast and its sail were fabric. And that was really impressive. But it's really down to what you're able to do. So if you're following along with this one, what you need to do first off is cut 3 pieces of cardboard or card. And you have 2 pieces which are the sides, which are these long straight ones. And what you see that you've got a dotted line here, and you need to fold along that dotted line, which is 7 centimeters in from the outside edge, the total length being about 51 centimeters. Then you need a piece which is 30 centimeter rectangle with a 7 centimeter side triangles coming out from it. And this will form your base, and these will be your sides. You then, using sellotape and folding along that dotted line, you attach the sides here to the base on either side, so that you attach it so the fold lines up here and comes down to the end of your triangle, and the other side does exactly the same. Then you use tape just to join them together, and it should end up like that. The next thing you can do is design a prow, your figurehead that goes on the front of your boat. You'll need to make 2 like this, and you need to make sure that the sides of them are the same height as the side of your boat. Then you make whatever your side of your figurehead is going to be, glue both bits, glue them together with one side going on one side of the front and the other part going on the other side of the front, and that will create your figurehead. Next, you can create benches or seats inside. These not only reinforce the sides and make them sturdier, but also will be somewhere that the people would have sit in if they were in there. Next, the sail. So you'll need something like a wooden skewer to go into the base of your boat like this. And then from paper or fabric, you can create your sail. Put a hole in the top and the bottom of the middle, thread it through, and if you don't put it all the way through, what you'll find is that it bows out like this, a bit like a sail. And then finally, just the finishing touches. You could put shields along the sides, which is where they stored their shields. They weren't actually raiding. You have your oars, which in this case are made out of toothpicks and bits of cardboard. And you could even decorate your prow to make it look more like the prow of a longship. And then you're free. Then you have your boat, and you can go Viking. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Really look forward to seeing your Viking longships created and posted onto Tapestry. Have fun with it, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.